mentioned, I'm Mary Pat, and I direct the Humane Education program at Antioch. And given the limits of time, I'm going to kind of recap something we talked about in a previous webinar about laying the groundwork in early childhood education and the early grades to prepare kids to approach solving some of the problems that affect us in terms of climate change and the climate crisis, without ever mentioning the word climate or climate crisis or climate change or anything like that. Later in the group that Paul is talking about, middle school and high school, we're able to talk about the science of climate change, et cetera. But we have an approach that we use in Humane Ed for the early grades. I want to say, first of all, that Humane Ed as a field looks at the impact of all of our choices, personal, societal, global, on the environment, non-human animals, and human rights. And you may notice here that we don't have an environmental sustainability, and that is because even in early childhood, we're looking at systems. We're helping kids see systems, the ecologies in which they exist, even the systems in their classroom, or systems that are outside in the natural world, tracing the path of a butterfly, for example, as the butterfly migrates. And the reason that we don't call that course environmental sustainability is because we are actually questioning whether or not we want to sustain all of our existing systems, that part of the work in climate change is helping us recognize that certain things we might think are sustainable are not. You could have a green school, for example, a certified green school. But when we look at that school through the lens, not only of environmental sustainability, but animal protection and human rights, we might find out, for example, that the soccer balls used at the school are made by children in Vietnam. That makes it not sustainable. So of course, we're not talking about all of that in early childhood. We are preparing kids, sort of cultivating a mindset so they begin to look at everything they do and the impact of what they do on the natural world, on animals, and on humans. So in early childhood, like let's say in kindergarten, basically it's the educator cultivating a climate-friendly mindset. Sorry for the craziness of my slide over there. But anyway, cultivating a climate-friendly mindset in the classroom through reverence, respect, and responsibility. Reverence being helping children feel reverence for themselves, even the way they talk about themselves, reverence for their most immediate circle of friends in the classroom, reverence for the outdoors, and reverence for any kind of animals that might come into the class. What do you do when a bug comes in, for example? It's just cultivating a mindset of reverence. And then later the respect is how that reverence shows up in behavior. So it's actually a way of organizing your classroom around this kind of culture of kindness, basically, and connecting that in ways without ever saying climate change to the fact that in order for us to protect this planet, we have to love it. We have to love it. We have to understand how it works. We have to understand that what we do matters. So there is this overarching culture in the classroom of tolerance, compassion, reverence, stewardship for themselves, each other, animals, and the natural world. Along with that, we're modeling a climate-friendly message. We might not think of compassion or inclusion and connection as climate-friendly, but if we contextualize that even for ourselves, and we think it's very important, the more compassion we have, that is actually the urge to alleviate suffering. The more compassion we have and we can instill, helping kids see how sometimes their behaviors might cause suffering for others. But in very, we always say no bad news till third grade, like in very positive ways that we need to include everybody. We see as adults that very often marginalized communities are those that are most affected by the climate crisis. So when they get used early on, accustomed to including, sort of widening their circle of compassion, even to include people that they don't know, but whom their behaviors might affect. And then connection. I think this is very important that when we go outside with kids, of course, it's important to try to inspire wonder, but the kind of purpose of that is for children to develop an actual relationship with the outdoors. So anyway, that's just a little bit. I want to say that in our classes, the classes are all courses in conversation. We meet quite frequently. We talk about these issues. The students comprise, a huge piece of how and why we teach. Many of our students are teachers, and we try to do this in our own program, but also in classrooms, that helping the planet is a joyful community practice. Asking the question, what can we do for the planet today? And even if the kids are outside planting a tree, to connect that to the way in which trees help the planet, what they give the planet, the fact that they're a habitat, what they do for the soil. So things that we might normally just do with kids, to think about ways that we can turn that activity into something that the children see as helping the planet.